Medcor. This is one of the ways I had mentioned earlier, we really want you guys heavily involved in investigation. We really want, participation. This is one of the ways that we can help you free up some of your time and help take really good care of our employees. So it's on-call nurses to assist in the first report of injury. Who is Medcor? They provide 24/7 call center that is staffed with nurses. So 24/7, all shifts are covered, all days of the week. They have access to translators in 220 languages. So I think we're good. Yes, I think we're good. If a translator is needed, they will be put on a brief hold while the nurse gets the translator. We don't want them hanging up. They need to just hang on. The nurse will take all the information regarding the incident. So almost all of you have filled out that incident report, pretty much that entire first page. Employee name, employee number, the date it happened, the time it happened, what happened. The nurse takes all that documentation down. After asking a series of questions, what they'll do is they'll say, okay, what happened? And then they'll ask like a nurse triage, like if any of you have ever been to the ER, and they'll ask you a series of questions, and based on your answers, they'll continue with a series of questions, find out what's wrong, that sort of thing. That's what they're gonna do over the phone. And they have their own, their nurses, so they have that all established, what they ask based on what answers. Based on those series of questions, they're gonna make a treatment recommendation. So there's one of two options. They will either recommend self-care, where put a Band-Aid on it, or go home and after work today, ice it. Those self-care instructions, we're going to talk about a little bit later, are going to be submitted directly to the employee. The nurse will find out their home email address. We're also trying to get a web portal set up so that the employee has that information sent directly to them. We also have access to a copy ourselves. Or they'll say, okay, you need to get further care. And that'll either be, if they feel it's severe enough, they'll tell them to go right away. Or they will tell them, okay, they will specify which clinic and say, okay, during these hours, or tomorrow morning, or now if it's open, go to this clinic for follow-up care. So the nurse is gonna be directing it. I know sometimes I've heard things like, okay, what if the person says they don't wanna go, and how do I do this? If I'm talking to a nurse and they're telling me what they want me to do, I'm gonna feel much more secure with that answer than, do you want to go to the hospital or do you want to go to the clinic? Are you okay? And not really knowing, you know what I mean? And you guys don't know and the employee doesn't know. This is going to take a lot of that totally out of the equation. The employee can and should call Medcor back again if they have any questions, if there's any change in their circumstances. Even from a financial standpoint, them calling this number back doesn't even charge against us. We get one call and then call back 10 times, and it counts as one call. Managers, you, your DM, and your RVP will get an email immediately after the call with what was said, what was done. You'll get like a summary notification. We want them to get the guidance and the care they need from a nurse. This is going to be really beneficial to them. It's going to ideally completely eliminate late reporting, because the minute it happens, they need to call immediately. And if they know they're getting to call a nurse, that should be something they want to do. A lot of our employees, second and third shift, clinics aren't open, so they go to ERs. If they don't really have a true medical emergency, the nurse will say, okay, tomorrow morning go to the clinic. And they're getting that information from a nurse. So it's going to reduce costs, or self-care, instead of a clinic. It's going to reduce a lot of costs. By providing this service, it shows the employees that we have a step-by-step process to take care of their needs quickly. Again, we really want to get this message out. We want you involved. We care. We want to take care of you. We want this to be a good thing. We want all of this to be proactive and positive, everything we're doing. Employees will sense we care about them, want them to get the best treatment possible and quickly. Again, we really want to take away some of the things I hear with the lag in reporting. Oh, I thought it would get better. We really, really, when you start talking to the employees and you start teaching them about Medcare, don't wait. Call right away. If the nurse doesn't think it's a big deal, they'll say, okay, ice it, you're fine. That's one thing, but call anyway. We'd rather you call. Let the nurse decide if it's no big deal. Call. No cost to you, like he mentioned, call. And then, hopefully we'll take some of the lag time problem away. Well, and even company policy. This is now, from what Carla said, We are completely eliminating the incident report as it stands now because this is it. They call in, the nurses are doing the incident report to me. It'll also help reduce any false claims because, you know, they're going to need to really answer medical triage questions, you know, and the nurse is going to be able to go, okay, where is this and what is this? It'll help eliminate miscommunication about the injury or exaggeration of the injury. I know when, you know, I have honestly fairly regularly seen when the employee fills out that body diagram that most of you have seen and the manager fills out their report, sometimes they're just very, very different. Where, you know, the level of pain, how the employee feels, by the nurse taking this information, we're eliminating this. And that's really good. We really, you know, the reason I gave you all the body diagram is we want to know what the employee's feeling and thinking too. And the nurse is going to be talking through them with this. So it's going to be much more fact-based, you know, much more process-based. It takes a lot of that from you guys having to try and interpret. The callback access, like you'd mentioned, if it gets worse, that's also 24 hours. Same thing, 24/7, 220 languages, they can call back. Removed from guiding treatment? Yeah, so I said there's win-win-win. So why is it important? And this goes back to what you were saying, Pete, about costs. You know, workman's comp has skyrocketed for lots of reasons. You know, some of the reasons that you guys have a little bit of control over is lag time in reporting, volume of employees going to the emergency room because they work off shift. You know, there's some things that, you know, happen at this level that we can get control of. This is going to do that. So when do you use it? As soon as an employee, you know, suspects an injury, and yes, even if they're not sure, I'd rather err on the side of they're not sure because the nurse is going to document it, and we'll go from there. You and the employee will call the hotline. For on-site ones, well, you're 24/7, so you might not even, if you're on site, ideally, you're going to call the number, the employee's going to come to you, and you're going to call the number. If you have supervisors or if your employees are, you know, kind of the only one there, they should call you first, but if you can't physically be there, they should still, after they call you, call the hotline. We will arm you with stickers for your phones. Okay, I'm going to pass this out, and now you're going to see why Carla wants Band-Aids and lifesavers. I want all three of these items to make their way all the way around the room. That sticker, the little one that's going around, go ahead and lift it up, goes right on the phone. They pick the phone up, there's the number. We're all set. That's a big one. Go ahead and open it up. Every single employee will be given a card. One side is in English, one side is in Spanish. I'm working on Polish. Those cards, if they have them in their wallet, pull everybody back. If those cards are in their wallet, it'd be very easy for them to call back if the symptoms get worse or if they have any questions. The only two times that you would do something immediately is if it's a medical life-threatening emergency or if there's an on-site clinic. Employees have access to phones at all of our job sites. They clock in at every single one of those, don't they? And there's no reason they can't call in immediately. When not to call. These are the situations Medcor, who are, you know, the nurses, they say these are the life-threatening situations an employee should not call them. They should get immediate medical attention. I'm going to say we're probably going to want to post this list where we do our postings. So wherever you have like your HR posters and your safety posters, we're probably going to make up a nice poster like that as well. So you can say, okay, if this happens, don't call, go to the ER. We also have a number of clients offers on-site medical care that we are allowed to use. You know, we have some clients who have 24/7, they have an entire fire department on site, they have EMTs, they have the whole 9 yards 24/7 to, well, we kind of have a first aid kit and you guys can use it if you want it. The whole spectrum. So the nurses cannot refer a person to our client's facility. They're not allowed. So if our client has a facility, they should go there first. Do whatever you do normally there, still call the nurse afterwards. They're going to take the first report, and if they feel that there's anything else medically that they need to ask, they'll do that also. When an injury occurs, the employee should always, number one, contact their supervisor or manager, and then the two of them will make the phone call, and there can be a supervisor and a manager, just the manager, whoever's available, as soon as possible after the incident. During the call, there'll be an automated message. Listen to the message. There's a brief pause. The nurse will come on. Tell them, wait. Wait till the nurse picks up. Don't hang up. The nurse will speak to the supervisor or manager first, and then they'll speak with the employee privately. The employee, if there's a language issue, the nurse will get a translator on the line. And again, there probably will be a brief pause because they probably have to call their service, get the right language, then hook them up. The employee should be allowed to speak to the nurse privately. You know, don't put them on speakerphone. You know, if there's a quiet place or an office or somewhere where they can talk, they should be allowed to do that. As I mentioned earlier, they're going to get all the required information, like the basics about the employee. They're going to get, you know, your name and number. They're going to get date of birth, incident information. So there's a list of, and you guys are all familiar with this. This is all on the incident report we have now. What's going to happen? I know it's a little bit more detail. The nurse will determine the seriousness, the best way to handle it. The call shouldn't take more than 8 to 12 minutes. They do say if they need an interpreter, that time can double, I believe, because they've got to be able, you know, everything that's said has to be said twice. Depending on the situation, they may be guided in first aid, suggested to go back to work, or they may be referred off site, and the nurse will tell them, you know, determine what to do, and then they'll tell you what they said. They don't authorize the absences, and we talked about that they should call back if there's any changes. This is the part you guys are going to love. So like I said, that whole first page, gone. Yeah, whole first page, gone. We really want you guys focusing on looking at investigating it. How did it happen? What can we do to fix it? We really want, that's where we want you guys to spend your time. So we're taking all that fact gathering, all the medical, and we're, you know, moving that so that you really can do what you need to do to make the improvements, to resolve the situation, to take care of it, do what you as managers need to do. All those employee forms that I put out about 1.5 years ago, I put those out because we wanted information straight from the employee. These are nurses. They're trained to take medical information. They're trained to ask these questions. So we feel that we can eliminate that as well, because we're going to get from the nurse this question, this answer, this question, this answer. You know, it's going to be it is a fact-finding exercise. So now you don't have to have the employees on your iPads. Those forms are all gone. They're all going to go away. The authorization form, where it lets them get the medical information if they need, everyone who's joined the company from the 1st of this year forward does it through the HR portal. So if it's an employee that has been with us longer than that, I will need to ask you to get that later if we need it, if it's not on file. So just so you know, that one's not going away completely, but we'll do it at the end if we need to. You will need to do the investigation, and then it'll all be in Salesforce documents. Definitely said this a few times today. Safety needs to be your #1 priority. We're doing this so that you can really focus on it, spend time with it. The feeling of being in an unsafe work environment creates poor morale, decreases employee productivity. You know, these are things that are going to make our employees more engaged. High volume of incidents jeopardizes our business with our customers and our potential customers. You know, these are things that, again, as they get more involved, we're going to see reductions in those problems, and that's going to be good for the company, which ultimately is good for all of us because we need our jobs. Should be thinking about every incident. A lot of this stuff was on the one we talked about earlier. Thinking about every incident, figuring out a way to make sure it doesn't happen again, educating employees. You know, if it's an unsafe business practice or procedure, change it. If it's, you know, someone performing it, educate and retrain. And educate and retrain everyone. If you're having issues getting it done in a safe manner, elevate your concerns. If you need to, elevate it to your manager or HR. It's not okay ever to do anything in an unsafe manner. Don't ignore it. Don't do it just to get the job done or because the customer wants it done that way.